Maybe you should go and do some contemplating.
Right reasons, right reasons. Can't be a girl for all the right reasons. Right reasons, right reasons. Can't be a girl for all 4 seasons.
I'm the Bachelorette, and I'm rapping to you poolside. Here to find.
Hi, this is Rachel McElroy.
Hi, it's Griffin McElroy. You may know us from things.
Well, mostly Griffin from Things, and me from One Thing.
Listen, what we're doing right now is an experiment in service journalism. Because nobody's out there talking about The Bachelor or The Bachelorette or The Bachelor in Paradise or, God rest his merry soul, Bachelor Pad.
I bet
that family of products.
You haven't even heard of these shows that we're mentioning right now.
Unless you are like 55 years old. That's probably the market that they shoot for, don't you think?
No, I think it's 20-something-year-old single girls.
That can't possibly be true. No, because that's who's on. You're confused. That's who's on the show. But the people who are watching it are 30 years older than the people on the show, and they're looking at it, going like, "Yeah, that's how young people do it." But young people don't watch that show and go like, "Yeah, that is how we do it." Did you guys see this crazy new show? And it's like a complete like replication of how we do things.
All right, that's fair. What should we talk about? Should we talk about our history with the show, or we should talk about what the show is?
Should we talk about the name of our show? Because we were trying to figure it out while we were in the kitchen earlier, and you were dropping like so many like gut busters on me that I was like, don't waste all these right now while we're in the kitchen. Nobody's hearing us except our kitty, Cecil.
We'll get into more what the show is about, but it's safe to say that roses play a big role in how the show works. And so we were trying to come up with clever rose things.
How about the Rose Bowl?
The Rose Bowl
of podcasts. How about a big pile of roses?
I suggested Kiss from a Rose, and then when The Bachelor is not airing, we could turn it into a Seal fan cast.
Okay. Now that's fun. Can you give me a sampling of let's start over and I'll sort of take the backseat and let you take the lead on this, and you sort of give me break me off a piece of what the Seal summer episodes are going to taste like. Start start a podcast. This
is Kiss from a Rose, the Seal fan cast. I'm Rachel McElroy.
I'm Griffin McElroy.
And today we're going to talk about who's he with? Because it's not Heidi Klum anymore.
Okay, that's one episode.
All right.
Crazy that you would start the series out like that. Hey, here's a guy I'm really passionate about. His name is Seal, and I'm sure you're wondering who's he with, not why he's culturally important, and what he contributed to the Batman and Robin movie.
Most of what our topics would be, I think, could be solved through a Wikipedia page, but.
Yeah, we would need to bring something more than that. We would need to do our own first-hand research, get on LexisNexis and look up some peer-reviewed research on Seal, go a layer deeper than Wikipedia would provide.
Maybe each episode, Seal versus Seal, we talk about whether Seal the artist is better than a particular famous Seal that we know in Hollywood.
Yes, a good podcast is all about segments. You got that one movie that had the seal in it, and they had the little girl, and I think the seal wore a raincoat, and it
was Andre, right?
Andre the seal giant, and I think they did burglaries.
I don't know anything about this show. I just remember a seal.
It was a movie. They couldn't get a whole show.
And Andre.
Yeah. So that's good. The name of the show and all the other stuff was bad, but I feel like what we just said was funny, and it lasted 3 minutes, so... We'll come up with a title later. That's what they do with all the best shows. They didn't come up with the name for Cheers until 4 episodes in. Before it was just called Untitled Norm Project. Mm-hmm.
When all the bar patrons clinked their glasses together and said, Cheers!
The show was originally Come Pie.
Okay. So, do you want to talk about the show? Kind of the structure of...
It's a very important show for me and for you. You got me watching it a few years back. You're like, you check out this guy... I was like, that guy looks like a complete doucher. And you're like, yeah, he does. His name's Ben Flagenic.
This was 2012. I have actually been watching the show since 2010, and early in my relationship...
Okay, well, that's a 2-year leg up. You don't have to,
Early in my relationship with Griffin, I said, hey, there's this reality show I watch. I'm a little embarrassed that I watch it.
Yeah, as you should be. As we all should be.
Yes. You can watch an episode or two with me. I'm not committing you, and then you can decide whether or not we continue.
Yeah.
And that was the season with Ben Flagenic. And
Wine. Can we call him Wine Man?
Wine Man Ben.
Oh no, better nickname. Oh my dad.
Oh, my dad. And Courtney Robertson, who ended up winning the season. The show works.
Probably an unconventional first season to watch, right? Like you can't,
Yeah.
but you're probably too far removed to like appreciate that was my first season watching the show, where like the biggest villain ever with like the biggest doucher wine boy, oh my dad, ever. And then they ended up together at the end of it. And you're like, hey, cool romance show.
You know, you say that, but in 2010, the season I watched with Jake and Vienna was very much the Courtney of that season.
Oh, see, okay. I guess it's not that uncommon.
Well, yeah, I think traditionally every season there's a villain. Usually they don't make it as far as these girls did.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'll say it started with The Bachelor. Now there's Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise and RIP Bachelor Pad.
Do you think there's people listening to this who don't watch the shows? Like, I get that there are people out there who are just like so hungry for internet content. Oh God, oh God, oh God, give me the content, give me the content, give me the content. They don't care what it's about. We could be talking about stock car racing right now, and people would
I
probably
think this
consume.
first episode we will get people that are not familiar with the show.
Okay.
And then they will stop listening. So then we won't have to do it anymore.
Well,
but,
thanks for your support, I guess.
But yeah, so the
Oh, sorry, everybody. Media gaff.
the people at ABC select a person that is very attractive and very in shape.
Usually a fucking loser bum from a previous season.
Usually white. And this person will usually be in their late 20s.
Yeah.
And they will be desperate to find a spouse. And they will bring on...
I don't know about desperate to find us, but like anybody who has been on this show in the lead role could get a suitor.
Anybody
otherwise.
that goes on this show could get a suitor, I think.
Yeah, I would just be careful with the word desperate. You know what I mean? Like Ben, this season's Ben, not oh my dad douche Ben.
To take your, and I'm going to use a word that's popular on the show, to take your, quote, journey
Yeah.
on national television, I would argue you have to be pretty desperate.
No way. No way. Desperate maybe to be televised. Desperate to have like everything
Yeah.
they say be broadcast to a cast to a viewership of millions. But it's not like Ben is struggling for trim. It's not like it's going to be, I can't wait to touch a boob this season for the first time ever. Yahoo!
That's fair.
I wonder what they feel like. Oh boy. I'm sorry I'm so sweaty.
He was a very sweaty man.
That's just his
fair to
disposition.
say about him. And so then they bring on, what is it, like 28, I think has been the most?
Right. A slaver named Chris Harrison
Yes, the host.
abducts a little bit less than 30 people from all around the country.
Yes.
Of the opposite gender, which is close-minded, than the Bachelor and Bachelorette, and then they bring them all together into one just wacky house, and then they compete for love, and they get whittled down in just like a brutal bloodletting ceremony at the end of each episode, or sometimes at the beginning of the next episode. ABC, you fucks.
Well, yes, there's a lot of carryover cliffhanger.
That was all last season. Last
Yeah.
season, you didn't get a single in-episode rose ceremony. You're
No.
the worst, ABC. But you're also the best. Thank you for this gift.
And when you say compete, I mean, it is quite literally competition, which is what makes it so interesting. Everybody lives in the same house, and then they go on these either group dates or
Yeah.
one-on-one dates, and often they are calculated so that these people have to compete in ridiculous stunts.
Yeah, and it didn't used to be, did it? Like,
No.
Even in the few years I've been watching the show, like it has gone full blown. Like every episode is a fucking double dare physical challenge.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a relay race, and they have to pick things up with their mouth.
I really liked Sean because he sumo wrestled the other man so good, and he was really funny and a good sport of it. Like that's how you win those challenges. By the way, well, this is probably going to be a recurring segment in this podcast. Is the Bachelor Bachelorette pro tip. If you're in one of those challenges, just fucking grin and bear it. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
be there sumo wrestling. Nobody wants to like have their balls all crushed up in like a sumo towel or whatever
Yeah.
they're called, and then like get manhandled by a big old dude. But just
Or-
smile about it, and then you'll win the day. That's easy.
Or
Or
stage a struggle.
yeah,
and then pull the Bachelor or Bachelorette aside and say, I'm really having a hard time with this challenge. It reminds me of a deep childhood trauma I have that I'm going to share with you.
Oh, that's a slam dunk,
and
too.
And then enjoy the challenge.
There it is.
You'll get that rose.
Yes, you will get that rose. Or do what Joe did and just pop one nut out. Get one nut out of your sumo towel.
Joe that everybody assumed was funny just because he was willing to be nude.
Yeah, you pop one nut out, it doesn't make you, doesn't make you Yahoo serious.
Everybody thought he was a funny party guy.
Right.
He was not.
Put your nut away, Yakov Smirnoff. Nobody wants to see that today. You remember when he tried to be a villain in Bachelor in Paradise? He can't be a villain. Yokel. Get that nut out.
Yeah, he did not have the skill or strategy to be a villain.
No, you're good at one thing, and that's getting a nut out.
Are you desperately trying to get me to say nut on this podcast?
I specifically want you to say the string of words, get a nut out, Joe.
I will not.
Okay.
I will not do that. Although that could be the name of our podcast. And then
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Get That Nut Out.
Each week, we discuss which Bachelor or Bachelorette contestant we would like to get a nut out.
Or just has gotten a nut out.
Or has.
Just sort of a historical retelling of nut out. So, yeah, they whittle them down. There's a few things that are in every season. Once they get down to, like, half the cast is gone, they start going to foreign countries. Mm-hmm. Except for...
Chris.
Chris didn't leave the country, did he?
No, Chris wanted a real down-to-earth girl that had no ambitions whatsoever.
Had not left the country.
Yeah.
He thought if you left the country, you were a foreigner and you don't belong here anymore. America's great. If you leave it once, that's it. You're done.
I think he was nervous they leave the country. They recognize more than ever before that Iowa is really absolutely the last place they want to move to.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. If they had gone to like Barcelona and then come back to Iowa, it would have been like, well, shit, this seems really rough now. So yeah, they go to international destinations. They go to, once they get down to 4, they do hometowns?
Yes.
They do hometowns at 4 people left. 3 people left, they go to the fantasy suites, which is where Ben's going to feel his first, and excuse me, I don't want to get blue, but his first titty. And then they get down to 2, and then whoever performed the best in the fantasy suites. As I understand it, that's the metric they use to pick the winner of the 2.
Well, and to be fair...
Whoever did the most stuff in the fantasy suite, I mean.
That is probably 70%, but 30% is they've actually already known and have known who they're going to pick for like 7 weeks, and they're just going through the motions to get their wedding and, fancy ring paid for by ABC.
Sure. Or they just need to get, as is more often the case, just looking at like the numbers of who has worked out in these shows and who has not. More likely, they're just trying to get through this thing. Oh my God, let's just get through this season because I'm not going to marry any of these people. Let's just finish my contractually obligated episodes and then be done. And then we'll do a little song and dance.
We sound really cynical about the show.
I love this show with every fiber of my being.
Yeah, and I don't think either of us is actually especially cynical. I would say every season there is a particular matchup that we get really invested in.
Yes, and I'll tell you what makes me cynical is Emily and Jeff with one F. That was the first time I had my heart broken. Because Jeff rolled into my fucking heart on his skateboard.
Literally.
Threw it into my fucking bushes. And then he just walks away? You can't just walk away. She's got a kid. I've got a kid.
Little Ricky.
Little Ricky's my kid, too.
They went on a date. It was one of their, like, European adventures. And they both had marionettes for some reason.
And they did a little puppet play.
Yeah.
And God.
They were standing in this huge ballroom with these little marionettes, and they were making their little marionettes talk to each other and be themselves.
It was so wonderful.
And I just thought these two are going to make it forever.
So in love. That moment was so wonderful. To quote RuPaul's Drag Race, another show that we should do a different podcast about, I flooded my basement. And
they didn't work out. And I would say every season, part of us always thinks this time they're going to work out.
When Whitney rolled up to the scene in Chris Soul's season, I was like, winner, right there, drafted her, winner, there she is, drafted her. She was the winner, and I was so happy for him. Now, see, didn't quite make it though, did it?
You just casually said drafted her. We haven't talked about the fantasy draft, which I don't know that we can get into.
Sorry, I meant that in like old timey. I drew her in my drafting pad. I did a drawing of her in my drafting pad to just try and capture her beauty.
But yeah, we also do a fantasy draft where we pick particular contestants that we think are going to be successful and or bring us a lot of points. There's a whole scoring system. It's not really worth going into. Our friend Chris
It's absolutely worth going into.
Our friend Chris Plant wrote an article about this. We've both tweeted it. You can read all about it.
I Facebooked it. I don't know if I tweeted it. God, I'm a bad friend.
Yeah.
I'll tweet it right now.
Do you want to talk about the first episode that we watched on Monday?
I think it'd be important to do that. Like, I think we've done a lot of good groundwork here. I think that we have a nice opportunity here to, like, get people on board with The Bachelor right now. Like, start the season with us, watch it, experience it with us. We should. Yeah,
you're not behind. You can watch this first episode on ABC's website or on Hulu and catch up. This first episode, you get to meet Ben, who is the Bachelor. Who,
I mean, you already met him. I already know this dude like the back of my hand.
That's the other thing about this franchise is that they will pick their next big star from the previous season. So they have the lock of fans already knowing who they are and being invested and already getting all over social media and saying that's who they want. So Ben is from Caitlin's season. He is very white bread. But
that's kind of a mean thing to say.
Well, I can't think of a single thing about him that makes him different from anybody else.
His name's Ben.
I mean,
I'm just saying he's only like the second or third guy named Ben who's been the star of the show. So the last guy wasn't named Ben, he was named Chris. And the guy before him was named Juan Pablo. And that's a far cry from Ben.
The first episode, we go to his hometown. We meet his parents. We see that he was a footballman. And he sells software. And he's 27, 28?
I think he's younger than me. I think he's 27.
Ugh. And that is all we know about him. He does allude...
His hair is short and dark, and the last guy's hair was kind of lighter and a bit longer.
He does allude to having been hurt before. And in the previous season, we learned that he worried at one time that he was unlovable.
Which is ridiculous. Like, no, dude. No, look at you. Like, everybody's got their own, like, bag of tricks tucked away inside of them. And I don't want to be, like, the kind of person to be like, you're handsome, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But Ben.
No, he's a very good-looking man.
Rachel?
But not remotely funny.
Babe.
From what I can tell.
Oh, good. Oh, that works.
So you've got that.
Oh, cool. And my name's not Ben, so...
Yeah, you've got a 2-syllable name.
Got all kinds of ways to separate me and him.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're basically the same, right?
No, you're wonderful.
Listen, I'm not crazy about Ben. But the Bachelor, like, has there been like a good Bachelor? Like, other than Sean, who developed really nicely, like a nice cheese.
Well, and Sean didn't even seem particularly good during his season.
No, but now he's kind of a goofball.
Yeah, now he's kind of publicly an interesting character. Maybe... Is there a strategic reason that ABC would do that would make their star kind of bland?
Except for, it blew up in their face with Juan Pablo. Juan Pablo wasn't bland. Are you kidding me?
No, it's true.
Juan Pablo was set up to be... Juan Pablo, we were all rooting for you to be like this dynamic and exciting individual that the show had never like had before. And then you ended up being the shittiest dude.
Because we had this conversation about Caitlyn. We loved Caitlyn.
Yeah.
During the previous season.
Everyone did.
And then when she became the Bachelorette, at least for those first few episodes, she was not the person that we had come to know.
Well, that was all editing. Like, I think you can make an argument like...
Why edit somebody to be less interesting?
Well, because her arc during that season wasn't the interesting girl. It was like ABC like slut shaming the hell out of her.
Yeah.
And like that was the arc of the season at that point. And then like the really poorly conceived love triangle. But like you saw that like after the credits shit in every episode, like she was doing goofy shit. That's the Caitlyn I wanted. Not the I had sex one time during the show that was not in like the designated sex episode ABC. And so, like, that has to be, like, the entire arc of my narrative for this season.
No, that's a good point.
Last season was gross, and it almost made me stop watching the show.
It was, but I don't think I'll ever stop watching.
And last season, I ethically had, like, I should probably stop this thing. I should probably hop off this wagon. Like Juan Pablo was gross because he was like a gross dude.
Yeah.
But this went beyond the like individual grossness, and the machine revealed itself to me.
Yeah.
They turned it around a little bit, but there was like it got kind of yucky there for a while.
No, it definitely did, because this is supposed... I mean, obviously it's not the real world, but it's supposed to be real world people, but they don't allow them to exist as a normal person would exist, where you would actually want to be intimate with somebody prior to getting engaged and or being the day before you get engaged. Well, I keep it
dirty
clean.
talk. You know what that is.
I keep it clean.
But then you follow that up. The very next thing in their family of products in the schedule is Bachelor in Paradise, where I watched a dude get his dong jerked off in a hot tub.
That was Joe.
Joe, he got a nut out, didn't he? He literally got a nut out.
Joe.
Anyway, the show can be very gross sometimes.
Yes. Why did we start talking about that? Oh, we were talking about...
the origins of Ben.
Yeah, we were talking about
I think we'll learn more about Ben during this season.
No, and I think maybe ABC sets it up that way of like, we want you to fall in love with Ben as the girls do.
By which you mean, like, let us learn a single thing about him, other than the fact that he's been hurt before and he's never felt a breast.
So what happens that first night? All the ladies come out of a limo and introduce themselves, and usually have a particular gimmick so that they are memorable, because after all, there are over 20 of them, and they could potentially get sent home that night.
We mentioned roses, only like sort of constant rule, except for that last episode. That last episode, you want the ring. Every other episode, you want that rose. You get the rose, you're safe. You don't get a rose, you go home. And there's a thing called first impression rose, where if you have a fun gimmick when you get out of the car, or most of the time if you just have like a deep convo with the main B, then you get to keep. You get the first impression rose, and you get to stay. It's sort of a big badge of honor, right? Like, what were you saying about how like the person who gets the first impression rose doesn't usually win the show?
Yeah, there was just statistically, I think in the past, maybe only 2 people in the 30 seasons of this show that have gotten the first impression rose have ever been picked at the end.
I forget the season I watch. In almost every season, like everybody comes in, that's fine. They go inside, they have drinks, they all talk to each other for like 15 seconds at a time, and then the bachelor or bachelorette like makes the decision, gives the rose out. I forget the season. I want to say it was Chris Soules, like during the limo exits, like as a girl came out and said hi, he was like, wait right here, went inside, got the rose, gave it to her right there on the spot.
I think that was Chris.
Baller move. And I was hoping we would see something like that from Ben, but no such luck.
No, not at all.
Kind of dragged his heels a little bit.
So let me just really quickly go through some of the gimmicks, because we took notes.
Yeah, some of the good characters. And these notes were for tactical purposes.
Yeah, because we had to pick our team for the year. I think I'll start with Brienne, who brought out the basket of bread.
And then, like, beat the shit out of a loaf of bread because she is gluten-free?
Yeah, she's a fitness enthusiast and thought the best way to make a first impression was to come up with a basket of bread that Ben thought, oh, hey, thanks for the snack. And she said, no. Gluten is the worst.
I think she said gluten is the devil?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then she was like, and what do we do with the devil? And Ben was like, I don't know. That's like a crazy, what do we do with the devil? That's like a crazy question. And she was like, oh, we break it over a fountain. We like hit the fountain with it really hard until the bread falls apart.
Yeah, and I understand wanting to be memorable, but I don't understand how this revealed anything about her personality other than she is a psychopath.
Brienne went the fuck home, which is like good.
She did. Yeah, and the funniest part was when she came into the mansion with her basket, and everyone's like, oh, did you bring snacks? And she's like, no.
No, gluten's the devil, and what do we do with the devil? We beat it? That's right, Jubilee.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to Jubilee. Izzy came in footy pajamas, and she said, quote, you're the onesie for me.
I thought that was cute. She went the fuck home, too, didn't she?
She also went home,
Roseless. Because
most of these girls are wearing evening gowns.
Yes.
And
to show off that sweet, sweet treasure that Ben has never experienced before.
Yeah. And I should also say, I'm going to keep saying girls, and I'm sorry about that. That's not me. You know,
we'll try and do better about it. I have to say women, then
I will. I'll say women. Jackie arrived.
You're saying it affectionately, like these are my girls.
Yeah,
I understand that too. That's why I call all the boys on the show, my boys.
It's like a hashtag squad thing for me.
Okay.
Jackie brought a wedding invite with her name on it and Ben's name on it.
That was a power play.
And the date, I'm guessing, of the finale, or she just estimated. I don't know where she got that date from. I remember it said March, and I remember thinking,
holy shit, did we draft Jackie? Oh my God, we drafted Jackie.
We did. Well, we were late.
That was our third round pick. Yeah, not great. I don't feel especially good about our chances this season. That's fine. For me, I like the show more than the game. Mm-hmm. Who else had a hot exit?
Laura, who is the only red-haired girl this season, came out and said, quote, "People call me Red Velvet."
And he was like, yeah, I'll call you that.
Yeah, it was a strange...
Aunt Laura.
Yeah.
Bye. Sent you packing, didn't he? Well, there were 4 Laurens on the show this season.
Yes.
And he couldn't have, like... He could track those, right? Like, if you have 4 Laurens, that's a nice, like, round number of Laurens.
Yeah.
And then you toss a Laura on that, and it just gets confusing, because, like, is one of the 4 Laurens a Laura? Is the Laura one of the 4 Laurens?
Yeah, not only are there 4 Laurens, there are 2 with the last initial B. So there is a Lauren this year that has elected to go by LB.
And can you imagine that conversation the producers had to have, like, sit you down, like, listen.
Only one of you can be Lauren B.
Yeah. How did they decide that? They had to, like, flip a coin, right? There's no way this woman is called LB. Because that, you know what that means? Fucking pound. That means pound. That is shorthand for pounds.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. That's fucking crazy. No way is a person going to be called that.
No, she set herself up for, like, some mean jokes.
Like some mean jokes. Yeah, there's no way this person went by LB. She was sat down like, oh, yeah, welcome to the show. By the way, you're LB now. Good luck competing with that handicap.
That's a shame. One of the Laurens, Lauren R., was the one that came up, and she appeared to be a little intoxicated, which is another thing you'll see a lot on this show, is people being a little bit drunk, but nobody acknowledging it because it is a constant in the show.
Yeah.
And she kind of slurred a little bit and said, "Come find me later. I have something special to show you." And did not, I think, introduce herself. I don't think she ever
didn't
found
say
out
her
her
name.
name.
But in her defense, he could have just assumed her name was Lauren.
Yeah, no, at that point.
You're looking at a 4 in 28. So what is that? 1 in 7 chance that the person you are looking at, the woman you're looking at, her name is Lauren.
Yeah.
And he had not met 4 Laurens up to that point, so really you should have deduced. And what's the thing of, like, the let's make a deal where, like, if you have 3 doors and you pick one of them and then one of the doors is taken away and you know that the prize isn't behind that one, you should change your mind absolutely when you just have the 2 doors left? Like, at that point, he had reduced the number of women that were there. He assumes... I'm saying mathematically, she's definitely 100% Lauren. And she was. She went home, though, didn't she?
She did go, yeah. So now we only have 3 Laurens.
Never got to find out what her secret surprise was. Did we?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. At a certain point in the night, they stop showing you the names of the contestants, and they just do kind of a quick run-through of interactions that have happened. And so you don't really know if you're seeing the people again because, they all look alike, which is part of it.
But same rule applies to us. There's a fucking embarrassment of Laurens. There's a murder of Laurens. You can just assume that it was a Lauren that did the thing. What was her surprise? What was her secret?
I don't know.
I gotta know. Let's hypothesize. Maybe she had a full cut. Maybe she pirated the Independence Day sequel
here's
and
a clue.
had like the full movie on hand.
A clue. We know her career involves something with social media.
Tumblr 2, still tumbling.
Oh, was she the one that said she stalked him on social media? I have a note.
That's a bad surprise.
I have a note that says social media, which makes me wonder if that was the one who admitted to looking him up on Instagram and Facebook.
Bad secret. That's why you came in 4th place of the Laurens.
Yeah,
you lost the Lauren race.
The one I liked a lot and you weren't especially excited about was Leah.
I thought you were going to say Rachel. Like, really?
No. Leah came out, hiked a football, and when he caught it, said, "I knew you were a catch." And
I like that.
I mean, that was okay, but what I liked most was his reaction, because as soon as he held that
What
football...
fucking crazy thing did he say?
He was something like, this is my comfort, or like...
This is my comfort mechanism.
Or like, this is when I feel comfortable.
This is my mind palace.
And he really did look noticeably more relaxed just holding that football.
My pigskin resort.
And I just thought... And then later in the episode...
My ovular hot tub.
My stitch face lover. Later in
my security brown ball.
Later in the episode, they show him playing catch again. Like, that was her thing. She realized, like, we are always going to have this moment where you like football and I happen to have a football.
And your little pockmarked buddy. It's good to see you, football. Let's go on. Lauren?
Lorelia?
How many times is he going to call a woman by the wrong name in this season? And just like, Lauren? Just throw up a Lauren.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to throw up a Lauren. Although LB will know.
Yeah.
You're not talking to me. You didn't say LB.
Actually, if you call LB Lauren, she disappears like a genie. That's how you set her free. I wasn't crazy about Leah. She got snatched up by our friends Cassie and Johnny in round 2, which I was fine with. It was a toss-up between her or Lace, right? Or no, Lauren H. is who we ended up with. God, there's so many fucking
Lace.
Laurens on this show.
We didn't even talk about Lace. Lace becomes the villain in this first episode, and the exciting thing about her is that she comes out of the limo, says, close your eyes, and then kisses him
Booyah.
and says, I wanted to be the first kiss. Which, if genders were reversed, would be like a real sleazy move.
A really, really, like, disastrous, illegal, bad move.
I mean, and still is pretty sleazy.
Yeah, it sucks, especially since, like, his whole thing is, like, I don't want to kiss any of the women this
Which
season
they didn't
until I
know.
get
To be fair, the girls did not know that.
Yeah, but that's why we don't do that shit in real life. It's why I don't walk up to people and kiss them in real life. Be like, you gotta fucking tell me she didn't want to kiss anybody today. God, now I feel like an asshole.
No, that is true. That the show... Now what's interesting, I think, about the show is that people come on aware of the history of the franchise, and so they just think certain things are okay. Like, oh, you're going to want to make out with me because that's why you're here. That's why we're all here.
Yeah.
And Ben makes very clear to Lace later in the night, like, hey, I'm not going to jump into that, which is a really uncomfortable moment on this television show because everybody's expecting it. Like, you want to be among the first to get those smooches because they are
Chris
going
Soules
to be
was
everywhere.
a fucking smooch machine, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh boy, smooching all the time. Women would come to his private little getaway and would like just smooch him on his bed.
Yeah.
Smooch him on his bed. Ben has never done that in his life.
No, Ben
has never gotten a smooch on his bed except from his mommy at night time. And Chris was doing that with all kinds of women, like they
that
were all
may be
his mommy
how
at
he's been hurt before. Maybe he's been hurt before because women have tried to smooch him
in the bedtime.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, "This is just for my mommy."
That's a great. I hadn't even thought about that. So, like, to continue the metaphor, during this last season of Bachelor in Paradise, we watched Joe get a smooch at bedtime in the hot tub. Is that just what we're going to call being intimate now?
He got a smooch out.
Okay. He got a nut smooch.
Oh, no, that's so much
the
worse.
Worst possible combination of the things.
Worse. I really quickly want to go through Megan brought a pony.
Fuck yeah, she did. That pony was the MVP. That pony was the GOAT. You remember that pony stepped on a woman's dress and she was like, excuse me, you're standing on my dress. Like, that's a pony. It doesn't know what you're saying.
And Megan was appropriately cocky about it because she was like, oh, what? There's twins here? Whatever. I got a pony.
We didn't even talk about the twins.
Yeah, there's twins. There's two girls that are.
And all of the women were like, how are we going to compete with the twins? Like, how are you going to, like, are you thinking, like, hi, Ben, we know you're not going to smooch anybody this season, but do you want to make love to us two sisters at the same time? Like, is that what, like, people think twins do? Like,
they
attractive...
seem to be playing that up.
No.
They seem to be like, we're twins.
No. They did not. I disagree. At no point were they like, what happens in twins stays in twins.
So then tell me about the time where one of them differentiated themselves from the other by revealing a detail that was unique to her.
No, they definitely said we're twins. What I'm saying is that when the other women were like, how are we supposed to compete with twins? It's like, it's two people. Like, what do you assume? Like, what is the inherent strength of we're twins? Like, if you and I weren't married and I was dating sisters, that would be like, if I had the option of dating two sisters or one not sister, I would not date the sisters because that's crazy. You guys are related.
But see, you're pretending like you're not aware of kind of the cultural enthusiasm that men have for twins.
That's like a bizarre fantasy. That's like a bizarre fantasy. First of all, it's gross. Second of all, it's a bizarre fantasy because what siblings are going to be like, yeah, let's party. Yeah, let's do that thing. Like, it doesn't happen. That's crazy. And why would you want that to happen? They're siblings.
I just think
fucking weirdo. And it's not going to happen on an ABC show where God knows if you have sex before the sex episode, then you're sent to the fucking Phantom Zone
unless you're
for the
on
rest of the
Bachelor in
season.
Paradise.
Unless you're in Bachelor in Paradise, in which case, like, get your nut out. It's episode 6 and you haven't gotten your nut out? We're running out of time.
I just think
This is why Bachelor Pad is canceled, because nobody got their nut out. Is that how you want Bachelor in Paradise to go? To be a nut-free failure? It's sweeps week.
I just think if I were Emily or Haley, one of the twins, I would have immediately said, hey, I'm the one that likes softball and old episodes of Murder, She Wrote. And then the other one could be like, oh, I'm more interested in ice hockey and doing macrame.
Wow, those sound like two cool women with a lot of neat interests.
But then you would know,
Yeah.
oh, that's how these twins are different.
But you've said that there's no distinguishing like feature between the two of them. I posit there is a better twin, and I want to do a count to three, and at the count of three, we both say who we think the better twin is, and I guarantee we'll say the better twin.
All right.
All right. I'll go 1, 2, 3, and then after three, we say it,
Okay.
right? 1, 2, 3,
Emily.
Haley. Okay, I guess not.
See, do you remember, what are you basing that on? Do you remember anything distinguishing about them?
Haley's face is a little bit more symmetrical.
I thought Haley was the one who we saw her picture and we were like, oh, she's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
And so you're excited about Haley.
Yes, although that was before I knew she was a twin.
Okay.
I can't say, I don't know why my mind works, but when we asked the room who's the better twin, and like everybody was on Team Haley. I think you're being actually, Emily, to be a little bit contrarian right now.
I just think Haley
Maybe
looks
trying
like
to be a little
trouble.
bit hip.
I like Emily because Haley looks like trouble.
Okay.
Rachel, who is not me, who is a character on this season, came in on a hoverboard and said that she
And
was...
it burst into flames and she died. So she didn't get a rose that week because
She
she's dead
said she was on cloud 9, which I think is kind of a strange...
now. Was that like a hoverboard like thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like I'm hovering as if on a cloud, and I am on cloud 9.
Okay. Well, hoverboards are illegal, so she didn't actually die, but she should be in jail.
Wait, they're illegal?
Yeah, like Amazon doesn't sell them anymore. They're little fucking improvised explosive devices. They're
But
really, really super
if
dangerous.
you-
They're landmines with wheels on
If
them.
you are out on a hoverboard, can you get arrested?
Yeah. If a police officer sees you, you're endangering everybody around you, riding around on that Claymore mine with 2 wheels on it. It's extremely dangerous. People are dying out there.
Oh.
They don't sell them anymore. They're fucking illegal. They're little crime boxes.
Well, we're lucky nothing happened to her on that wet pavement.
I know. They wet that pavement down. They get it real, real slick. And then they
Yeah.
put you on the most dangerous vehicle that exists. I mean, it's kind of badass, right? Like, I guess if you're Ben and you want, like, a danger lady, you would be hard-pressed to find somebody more
I
dangerous.
wish she had, like, shot for shot done what Jeff did. Like, she picked up the hoverboard,
and
thrown
threw
it into
and then
the
it
bush.
fucking, like, exploded and, like, leveled the second story of the Bachelor Mansion.
Which looks a little rough. We noticed, like, from the front,
Did it?
I feel like it's starting to show its wear.
Yeah. I mean, the outside, the facade of that is basically like a house that you would see at like a mini golf course. A lot of really kind of like shoddy looking plasterwork. A lot of stuff that's just kind of
Yeah,
falling
it
off.
seems kind of Spanish inspired, but not in a way that was done expensively.
Yes.
So I think those are mostly. I mean, there was a girl that came out and spoke Russian.
Shoshana.
Shoshana.
I was into her, but I didn't like. That can't be your exit where it's like, hi. She spoke in Russian the entire time, and her name is Shoshana, which I think is a beautiful name. Mm-hmm. I think it's a beautiful name. If your name is Shoshana out there, I think it's a beautiful name. But when you speak Russian and you say the name, you say the words hi, my name is Shoshana in Russian, it all kind of sounds like Shoshana a little bit. So it's hard. He couldn't like pick out what
Yeah.
the name was, and he actually was like, "Oh, thanks. It's nice to meet you, Shauna," because he
Yeah.
didn't know where names started.
No, but she did still get a rose. Or no, she didn't.
You know, she did. She did. She got
She
drafted.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So no, from what we know, they did not speak any English to each other.
Yeah, I
and
don't think we saw them chat.
She still beat several girls.
A lot of women that I actually so we have a system on the fly where we put little notes down in that first episode. We used to draft immediately after the limos. Thank God we didn't do that
Yeah.
in this episode, because I had like 4 women that I was like crazy about during their limo exits, that if we had drafted them, like, we would have lost our whole team episode 1. Because he sent home some women that I thought were on point. I thought Red Velvet, Laura, really? You're gonna send her home? Jennifer, who you Jennifer, who you ogled in the moonlight, and you can say you
Yeah.
didn't bin. You can say you didn't bin.
Wait, did she not get drafted?
No, she got.
No, look.
Oh, she did.
She stayed.
Okay, she stayed.
Moonlight Boobs stayed.
She got like straight up ogled by Ben, which is like, I think that was less from like a sexual point of view and more coming just from like a curiosity, like a boy who like there's a lizard that somehow got into his classroom, and so he spent the whole day just looking at the lizard, wasn't focusing on his homework. He's never seen a breast before, I bet.
And then
I'm not saying that to make fun of him. I'm saying he's never seen a breast before.
How can you be sure?
It's just in fiction. In the fiction of this podcast, I'm 100% sure
Okay.
Ben doesn't know like what's going on in there in the shirt zone.
Okay. No, I think that's true.
And that's totally, totally cool.
Yeah.
I want to point out that's totally, totally cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a rocky road for him going forward because I imagine there will be a lot of swimsuits.
Yeah.
And then,
When do you think he starts kissing?
Probably first one-on-one date. I bet he'll get the
That's
smooch
bullshit.
out. I bet he'll get the smooch out on the one-on-one date.
Do you remember when Juan Pablo was like, I don't want to smooch anybody for a while?
Oh, because I have a daughter.
To that one woman who had a child, and he
Yeah.
has a daughter, and this woman had a child. What was her name? Lilu. No, I don't remember her name, but she's great. She was like everybody's favorite. And he was like, I don't want to kiss you because you have a child and I have a child. And what if our children see? And she was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then like 14 seconds later.
Yeah, gosh, what was her name? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. She was great.
This season...
What a fucking horrible season, though. What a jerk. And
As
what a
far as
sleazeball.
we know right now, there's only one woman, and she has 2 kids. Her name is Amanda, and she
Yes.
is a contestant. But that's a thing that happens every season. Another thing that happens every season, there are repeat contestants from previous seasons. So we have Amber and Becca, who have both been on seasons of The Bachelor before.
I didn't remember Amber at all when she showed up on Bachelor in Paradise.
I don't think she lasted very long. I think she was on Chris's season.
She made it pretty far in Bachelor in Paradise.
No, but on Chris's season.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I didn't remember her from Chris's season at all, but she hung in there quite a while in Bachelor in Paradise. But I guess the time-tested Bachelor in Paradise formula did not work for her.
And Becca was actually the runner-up on Chris's season.
I see, and that feels like a new thing, a new like piece of wet spaghetti that Bachelor is throwing against the wall, because Nick was the runner-up in the last season, and then Nick was in Caitlin's season. Mm-hmm. Nick was the runner-up in Andy's season, and then was in Caitlin's season. So like I'm starting to think there's like a second place bonus now that they are trying to codify as an official rule, which would mean that no, it couldn't be Nick again. Nick was the runner-up in Caitlin's season. Nick can't come back a third fucking time. So they better not try that shit again in the next season of The Bachelorette.
No, I think, I imagine ABC contacts these people and says, hey, we're going to give you the exclusive. Ben's The Bachelor. Are you at all interested in coming back? And then if they're not doing anything...
Because they've all got to be buddies, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they make it sound like there's all these, like, exclusive...
events that you...
Yeah, these parties they
Yeah.
go to and they hobnob. And...
They get nuts out.
There's nuts out that they snack on.
Yeah, no, that time we were
balls.
talking about, like, actual legumes.
Yeah. And...
You okay? It's thirsty work podcasting, isn't it?
It really is.
I think we can start, like, sort of drawing to a close. I think we got a lot of good front runners this season. Well, no, actually, it seems like kind of a bad lot of people. Like, when we were drafting, we were having a real problem coming up with the women we wanted to get on our
the
team.
woman that everybody wanted on their team was Olivia.
Olivia, the Austin, Texas ATX.
She got the first impression rose. She's a news anchor.
Yeah.
She came out and she was like, I get a little emotional.
Let's talk about, she's a news anchor in Chattanooga, which is a pretty decent market. Like, it's a pretty middle of the road, like, market for, like, news. And she said she was a lead anchor there. And she left her job to come be on
This
The
is just
Bachelor.
like shop talk. I don't understand the significance of
Okay,
this.
the significance is there's like, I forget the numbers, but I used to know them when I was in broadcast journalism school. Something like 190 markets total. And markets means like, you know how like we don't just have like Austin news, like we get other counties and stuff. So like each state might have a certain number of markets depending on how big it is. So say there's like 190 markets. How many lead anchors are going to be working at each of one of those 190 stations? Not a lot, right? Like the total number of jobs for lead anchors is like 400 maybe tops. And then you have like weekend anchors and shit like that. It's a very small job pool. To fucking bounce for that to be on The Bachelor? That seems crazy to me.
I mean, she's probably banking, and she's probably right. She'll be able to get a job like that again after the show, assuming she doesn't embarrass herself.
And she didn't.
No.
She's a class act. Everybody wanted her. First draft pick went to
Yeah, she
Chris
got
and
all
Steffi.
nervous and flustered when she met him, and she commented on his dimples, and then she said, "I have one dimple," and they both grinned at each other, and he gave her the first impression rose.
Other frontrunners, Lauren B., flight attendant. I thought that her intro was just so, but then they seemed like had a pretty good convo, and then Olivia got the first impression rose, not Lauren B. Kayla, I'm very much into. I think she has a great attitude, a very nice personality. She did leave her boyfriend after seeing Ben on Caitlin's season of The Bachelorette, which is one of the most bonkers things I've ever heard somebody admit to on this show. Rachel, I'm sorry. I have to leave you because
I saw RuPaul's Drag Race.
I saw Mandy.
I saw Milk on RuPaul's Drag Race.
I saw Milk on RuPaul's Drag Race, and I was like, I gotta bounce. I'm so sorry. But look at Milk. Now you understand.
No,
I flooded my basement.
I flooded my basement.
But she's got a great face, great personality. I think.
Yeah, she ran out and she jumped and made him catch her.
And he was like, "Oh, that was so nice." And I was like, "That was so nice." Boy, I would like to draft her.
Fun.
She got snatched out from under us, though.
Yeah, she seems fun. She also sells software, so they could spend a lot of time talking about software.
What kind of product management do you Scrum?
Yeah, I Scrum.
Do you Scrum? Yeah, I Scrum. This is what people sound like.
So anyway, there are 3 frontrunners on this season: Kayla, Lauren B., and Olivia. Oh, we drafted 4th. Pretty cool.
Yeah, we did not get a tremendously good pick. One pick we did make, though, was Lace, and you may remember from earlier in this podcast, she is the villain this season. At least that's how it seems. She was completely unsatisfied all night with the amount of time and attention she was getting from Ben.
Got a rose at the rose ceremony.
Yes.
I was like, why didn't you make more eye contact with me at the rose ceremony?
Yeah. And to be fair, it was very clear that it was like 5 or 6 in the morning by the time they were finishing that evening. She may have just been a little tired.
Oh, and super drunk. Like that's
a little tipsy.
That first night, I can't imagine what a gauntlet that is to get through, because they don't feed you. You know that is a liquid lunch and probably liquid dinner and probably liquid breakfast.
But she was talking.
They make you drink a glass of champagne at the end of that first rose ceremony at 5:30 in the fucking morning.
Yeah.
It's torture. It's torture. It's really, really rough.
Yeah. Well, and you're drinking in the limo on the way to the mansion.
Yeah. You got a good 18-hour drunk that you are then like coasting off of the edge of, and you're just hoping you didn't say something super duper racist.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, people that get trashed are kind of judged harshly, but it is all you have to do.
That would be me. I know that 100% for sure. If I rolled up on that show, when I get nervous, I drink, and then I would probably try and make jokes like about the nature of the show.
Yeah.
And when I would be drunk, like that would come off very bad.
Yeah.
And then I would be probably sent home before the rose ceremony.
Yeah, there's no television, there's no social media, there's nothing. You can't connect with the outside world at all. You can't speak to your loved ones. You are sitting in that house all day, and they have given you unlimited alcohol.
You can swim. And you got to swim. That's a survival. That's a survival instinct. Another McElroy pro tip: get in that pool. That cold water is going to help you sort of stay sharp.
Yeah.
And also, if you are well put together, you got a tight body, you're gonna let the Bachelor or Bachelorette see you in that.
Every single person.
Every single person does. Yes, definitely kept it tight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can talk about the like draft rules and the rules of the show maybe in a later date, just like sort of keep people up to date. Anything else people need to know if they've never watched The Bachelor before, and like this podcast is sort of the midwife for their birth into this wonderful and occasionally kind of yucky new world?
I don't think so. I mean, what you're going to see a lot of this season, you're going to see a lot of editing to
have a drink
to suggest to you who the.
What's wrong? There we go. That's talking juice is what I call that.
You're going to see a lot of editing to suggest to you who the frontrunners are, who the villains are, who's a good commentator, but not necessarily a good contestant.
It's usually pretty obvious. Like who the winner is going to be is usually pretty obvious, except for Sean and Catherine. Wouldn't have called that from a mile away.
No, that's
because they
true.
didn't. That snowball didn't start building until like 8 weeks in, and then they're still married. They're still together. They're expecting a baby.
Yeah.
That's the secret. That's the fucking secret sauce. Is sometimes it does happen, and it happens in week 8 when you've gotten to know a person for 2 fucking months, which I would say probably bare minimum you would need to decide like whether or not you wanted to marry somebody, and that's a bare minimum.
Yeah, and then the other thing you're going to see a lot of competition between the women. They're going to turn on each other. It's going to happen fast.
They're going to get Rosie O'Donnell's going to show up and like cover him in gack at some point and make him like dig for a flag and a giant pizza or something, like run around in a giant gerbil.
Yeah,
wheel.
there's going to be some bands that you've never seen, but the contestants will all appear excited about to have them playing.
Unless it's the fucking Cranberries like it was last season in Ireland. Cranberries playing in a cathedral in Ireland? Are you kidding me? Of course I would have had sex with Nick too. Of course I would have had sex with Nick too.
Yeah.
Of course I would have had sex with Nick as well.
I would say it comes across as a gross show about gross people, but I enjoy and look forward to that show more than a lot of things in my week, more than most things in my week. I would say.
We've made it fun, because we have a big group of friends that we all watch it with, and we've turned it into love football. And also between the two of us, we usually drink like a bottle and a half of red wine.
Yes,
which I'm into that.
Yes.
It helps. That's another McElroy pro tip. But this one's for the viewer, not for the contestant. Just drink some red wine. Get some chocolate. Treat yourself. Treat yourself real nice. You've earned it. It's been a hard week on Monday.
Yeah, it's like what I imagine in the old days was like a trip to the hair salon. You know, you get some good gossip.
It's nice having it at the end of Monday. Yeah. Because it's like that first workday usually blows. Mm-hmm. But then you have like a fun thing to wait for that night. It's like a little 2 hours a weekend. By the way, the show's 2 hours long. Prepare accordingly.
I mean, at least 2 hours long.
At least 2 hours long. Sometimes it... Now and then there's like an hour-long talk show afterwards, which I usually can't hang with.
No, they bring on celebrities that are fans of the show to talk about the show, and sometimes it's interesting. Like Josh Molina was on.
It's always fun to be like, oh, Lauren Lapkus is really into this show. That's really great. I love finding out that other people are really into this show. But at this point, they are now our competitors to this podcast.
Yeah, well, and there's no structure to it either. So you're just watching a bunch of people that don't know each other sit on the couch and talk about a show they're kind of embarrassed to be watching.
Yeah.
And then they take callers. I wouldn't recommend watching that last hour, but if you're new, perhaps it'll give you some insight.
Yeah. We got to wrap up because I'm a fucking hungry boy and we haven't started cooking dinner for each other yet. We do Blue Apron. This podcast is sponsored by Blue Apron. It's sponsored by Audible. It's sponsored by Loot Crate. It's sponsored by DraftKings. It's sponsored by...
Getting a Nut Out.
Casper. Well, Getting a Nut Out, it's not like a company that sponsors every
Planters
part.
Mix Nuts.
They are not big. Nature Box they have nuts that they sell.
So you're actually going to list real people that advertise on your show? Are you sure you want to do that?
Not just our show. Like I don't think we've done DraftKings.
I'm worried the content of this podcast.
DraftKings brings you the new hit Bachelor podcast hosted by Griffin and Rachel McElroy, and the title of it is Rose Buddies. Oh, that's not bad.
That's good. Wow.
I really just flipped that one off the dome. Rose Buddies or Rose Buds? We could do it like two Rose Buds with a Z.
With a Z, that's good.
That sucks. All right. Rose Buds with a Z or Rose Buddies.
I like Rose Buddies.
Rose Buddies. Okay, but we're not buddies. We're like spouses. I mean, we're buddies, but like we do like fun stuff together.
We were buddies first.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Rose Buddies. Maybe tentatively titled. And we'll be back after the next episode airs. The next episode will probably be shorter. We had to lay down a lot of groundwork. Let's go eat some food.
So that's our story. That's how it goes. But who will get the final rose? Stay with us on this journey of joy.
Spoiler alert.
She ends up with Soldier Boy.
Right reasons, can't be a girl for all.